caught nibbling on his wife Jill's finger on stage during a campaign stop. Joining me now, John Thomas, a Republican strategist as well as a pollster, and radio host and political analyst Rashad Rishi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, Rashad, you first. Nibbling on his wife's finger on stage. Another awkward moment for Biden?
Yeah, but it does not calculate to the awkward moments Trump has had when he ran for president or while he's been president. Let's be very clear. This is not material to his candidacy. Is it a weird Joe Biden moment? Yep. Does it matter on the campaign trail? Not really, and his polling numbers have not been affected, and it has nothing to do with his policy, and I think that's what the American people actually care for. What does Joe Biden stand for, and is he willing to articulate their agenda while being president of the United States?
But, John, a no malarkey tour, I mean, that's what, Irish slang? Does that resonate with young voters, which the former vice president needs?
Well, and that's the challenge, right, it really does. The malarkey might do great with the octogenarian set of the electorate, but what Joe Biden has to do is stop the hemorrhaging of polling in places like Iowa and New Hampshire, where he's polling in fourth or fifth place. So, look, I think the problem with all of these, whether you want to call them gaffes or, the finger sucking and sniffing, talking about, little kids touching his leg hair in pools, it's not about the substance of his argument, but what it does show is that he's out of touch with where a modern America is, and it lessens his appeal, and it undermines his core message. So he has real problems. Let me make clear, he's not winning Iowa. So what he has to do is just now come in a top 2 or top 3 so that the narrative coming out of Iowa is not that he's a major loser.
Right. But he is winning, Rashad, nationally. If we pull up the real clear political average, he's at 27%, Bernie Sanders at 18%, Elizabeth Warren at 15%, and Mayor Pete Buttigieg at 11%. Joe Biden seems not to be concerned with Mayor Pete, but should he be?
Well, he doesn't need to win Iowa, just as your guest said. Iowa has 49 delegates. 41 of those delegates are pledged, which means you have to earn them. There's a 15% threshold in how the caucus is done. He will meet that 15% threshold, which means he leaves out of Iowa with actual delegates. He does not have to win Iowa. He just has to do well. In places like Georgia, where you have 125 delegates, and other places, southern states, where he will absolutely top within number 1 or number 2, those are places where he's going to rack up on the delegate count. Remember, this is not a popular vote election.
Should he be worried about Mayor Pete?
He shouldn't be worried about Mayor Pete nationally. That's according to the polling data. Iowa is going number 1 for Mayor Pete because between November 5th to November 11th, Mayor Pete spent $870,000 on a campaign buy, and then that poll was taken 2 days after that campaign buy. So you're seeing the effect of that particular ad purchase, which rightfully so. He did a good job at making sure he spent a lot of money in Iowa. Biden has not spent that kind of money in Iowa. He's not trying to win Iowa, but he is trying to finish strong.
Gotcha.
Biden doesn't have that kind of money to spend in Iowa. As of last quarter, Biden was headed toward the bankruptcy column, so he has to be careful where he spends money. But the issue right now is it's not that Biden isn't going to win electors out of Iowa. The issue is the perception of momentum. If you blow Iowa and New Hampshire, this narrative of the momentum can halt you as you think you go into your firewalls in the South.
Yeah, exactly. Typically, we see, the candidates who do well in the first states to caucus kind of get that momentum. But then you have a candidate like Mayor Mike Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, who's like, I'm just going to skip the whole first rounds of the contests and see how I do. And Amy Klobuchar really attacked him over the weekend. She said, look, I don't like his mentality that he can just buy his way in, and because he doesn't think the field of candidates is good enough. She was insulted by that. Rashad, what do you think?
Welcome to American democracy. He has the right to do it the way he's doing it, and probably strategically correct, because he's going to get slaughtered on a debate stage if he really gets in at this point. And let's be clear, his company, since inception in 1981, Bloomberg LP, has been riddled with lawsuits. The last lawsuit was last October. The culture, according to these suits, is that there's age discrimination and there's gender bias. that will weaken his campaign if he doesn't figure out a way to articulate an answer to the longevity of legal suits that has been launched against him since the early 80s.
Yeah, John, let me let you wrap this up for us.
Well, the Super Tuesday only strategy hasn't ever worked before. Doesn't mean it can't work because Bloomberg does have resources. But to your guest's point, if you simply think you're going to try to buy this election and you can avoid reporter interviews, you're not going to address Me Too allegations, that narrative can backfire and undermine your paid advertising campaign. And this might just be the gift that an Elizabeth Warren and a Bernie Sanders have been hoping for, because they have wanted to run against big banks and Wall Streets, and they've finally got it.
An interesting way to look at it. John, Rashad, thanks for the time.
Thank you.